Hello, welcome to Liz Rocks and Stuff. I'm Liz. Let's see what's in my tumbler this week. We're going to start out with my two barrels that I have that are a mix of agates and quartz that are in stage one. So the first thing you'll notice here is this is still in my sink inside like I do sometimes, but I've put a towel in my sink, and this is just so I don't have to clean up as much of a mess. You'll notice I splash quite a bit, especially in this tiny sink with this really terrible faucet. So I have just started putting a towel down to help me keep the mess out of the sink and keep things from going down the drain that don't need to go down the drain. So that was the smaller barrel. This is the bigger one. Nothing quite remarkable here. This looks like a typical slurry. The rocks are doing pretty good. I do clean out the barrel on this one a little bit. It had some gunk around the edge, so I just took my little toothbrush and kind of cleaned that out a little bit just to kind of keep the barrels clean. And I do I think I do it in this one. I've started using a water pick for some of my rocks that have some grit stuck in the little crevices. So that demortierite and quartz, that big piece right there, I'm kind of just seeing what this does. It keeps disintegrating a little bit more every week. It used to be pretty big, and I keep getting all these little tiny bits from it. So I'm just going to see how far it's going to disintegrate at this point. But anyway, now I'm pulling out the rocks that I'm pulling out to the top left there. Those are rocks that have pretty deep cracks or cracks that seem to go all the way through that I am going to attempt to break. And I do that on camera. And spoiler alert, it does not go well. So that'll come up here in a minute or two. But I'm just going through here and seeing if anything's ready for stage two. That's the water pick right there. That rock in particular has like a quartz pocket, and that quartz pocket's not going to tumble out. So I want to make sure that I'm always getting the grit out of it, so that it's not carrying grit and getting grit solidified into that quartz pocket. I'll try to show it next week. I didn't get a close up of it this week, but I'll try to show it next week what that quartz pocket looks like. So that's just something that as I move that rock forward, I'm going to need to make sure that I'm cleaning it out thoroughly. And that water pick that I just showed, I'll show it a little more later, actually works really well to get grit from those little teeny tiny crevices in your rocks. So as you can see, bottom right, that cup, that's things that are ready for stage two. There's just that one teeny tiny piece out of both of these barrels. So nothing really big going on right now. But I am about to try to break those three rocks that I pulled out that have some deeper cracks. Actually, the bigger one is just oddly shaped and is not going to tumble well the way it is. So I'm trying to break it down. So this is my breaking setup. I have an oak board with a towel on it to protect the board. The board is to protect the surface I'm on. Normally this would be a concrete slab, but since I'm trying to film this, I'm doing it on my countertop. So that's a sledgehammer. And so my first line of trying to break this is to just hit it with a sledgehammer. If that crack is deep enough, the sledgehammer will just break the rock. So I'm not hitting it too hard. I'm not trying to just, absolutely obliterate these rocks, but I am trying to just see if they'll break on their own, and none of them do. Not a huge surprise. These are fairly hard rocks. This one and the one prior, those are both amethyst, and the first one is a moss agate. Those are fairly hard rocks, so they're not going to break too easily. So this is my second line of breaking. This is a old wipes container, and I've shown this in a previous video. An old wipes container to help contain any shrapnel, if you will, and a masonry chisel. So I'm putting the chisel in that crack that I see, and I'm just going to wail on it with the sledgehammer. And this actually broke. That one broke exactly where I thought it was going to break. It had a big crack there. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just break these rocks where they have those cracks. And again, spoiler alert, that is the only rock I managed to break. This one, my issue with this is the crack is on a surface that's somewhat sloped. So when I would hit it, the chisel would slide off. And I couldn't get it to stay and keep the chisel where it was, and it was sliding kind of unpredictably. So I got a little bit concerned that I was going to end up hurting myself because I was going to, hit my hand with the hammer because the chisel slipped or something like that. So I did end up giving up on this rock, I think, after this attempt right here, when I kind of put the chisel on it, and before I can even hit it, it just sort of slides off. Oh no, I did get to hit it. So still slid off, and it's not staying anywhere that I can actually break it. So I gave up and just threw it back in the barrel. It'll tumble out or it won't. This one is just oddly shaped and has a lot of very deep valleys, and those valleys are not going to shine up. They're not going to tumble at all. So I'm trying to break it sort of in that valley. The problem is that there's not a flat surface on the other side of that valley where I'm trying to break it. So again, with this one, every time I'd put my chisel in that valley to try and break it, the rock would move. It was unstable. It didn't feel safe. Oh, and by the way, safety goggles when you're doing this. I don't show it, but safety goggles always when you're breaking rocks like this. So I didn't feel safe. I try several different angles to try and get my chisel into that valley. I did finally just sort of say, I'm not getting it in where I want the chisel, but I can at least put the chisel on the rock and wail on it. And that's what I was just doing. I was just hitting it as hard as I felt comfortable doing, over and over and over. It didn't even dent the rock. The rock didn't even notice. So again, gave up on it, threw it in. We'll just see what happens. Maybe I'll try again later. I do generally prefer to do this on my concrete slab and not on my countertops. These are stone countertops. I would not do this without, one, several layers of protection, and two, very, very sturdy countertops. So don't do this on like your Formica or your wood. Not recommended. Normally I would do this on a concrete slab. So this is my geode that I cracked. I showed this a few weeks ago. I had cracked at a gem show, and I'm tumbling half of it just to see what happens. So, tumbling this geode, I got anything from, make sure that it doesn't open up into a big pocket and you should be fine. See how it goes, to that's going to be the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. You absolutely should not tumble that. So we'll see how it goes. I'm leaning more towards I'm pretty sure it's solid. I'm pretty sure it's going to tumble just like any other rock. I'm not tumbling the other half that does look like it opens up into a pocket. So it's my rock in the end. We'll see what happens. All right, so I did put some filler rock in these because they were just a little lower than I was comfortable, and I wanted a lot more variety. A lot of these are somewhat bigger rocks, so I wanted a variety in size. So I put some filler rock in these like I tend to do. And so now I'm putting 1 or 2 tablespoons in the smaller barrel, 6 tablespoons of stage 1 in the bigger barrel, and these are going to go on my tumbler for a week. So we will check on these again next week. And hopefully I'll have a few more things that are ready to get moved on. Otherwise, I might have to start some of my other projects that I have going on or queuing up ready to go. So now we're going to look at my stage 2 agates and quartz. These are the ones that I realized, oh yeah, I need to get these done by the end of the month. So this slurry looks really thick, like really, really thick. I'm not sure why that is. It did all rinse off though, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, everything was sticking to the lid. The little my ceramic media was sticking to the lid. Some of the smaller rocks stuck there. I did end up, you can see I splashed. That's why I started putting the towel down. And I also did notice until I was halfway through this that there is a fork in this sink underneath the pot. So the pot's also not exactly stable yet. It gets there. So yeah, this is what I get for using my sink and my bar for this when I actually use the bar for other things. Anyway, so rinsing these rocks off. And this is a rock, you can see that light gray, there's a little crack there. Ideally, this crack wouldn't be there, and I wouldn't tumble things in stage 2 until they were absolutely 100% smooth. I am not that patient, but there is grit stuck in those cracks and those little dits, and so this is what I got this water pick for. You just use it to sort of blast that grit out of those crevices, and you'll see when I show it up here again, and the editing is terrible because my camera would not focus, so I kept trying to get it to focus on the rock, and so I cut it up a bit to try and get just to the parts where you can see the rock. But you'll notice that now that light gray slurry is no longer in those little cracks and crevices, and I'll need to do that between every stage from now until it's actually done through polish, because each stage it will get stuck in there. Those cracks and crevices are not going to go away in the subsequent tumblings. Ideally, that would have come out in the first stage, but as I said, I'm not that patient. I'm not a perfectionist as far as these rocks are concerned. I don't need them to be 100% smooth. It's great if they are, but I like to move things on and get them polished and not have them tumbling for months on end. So this is me putting the burnishing or the cleaning cycle. So I'm using borax here. This is my first time using borax. I know a lot of people use it. I've actually seen a little bit of controversy over whether or not you should use borax. I know that borax isn't available in other countries. A lot of people say just use ivory soap. It's just detergent. Borax is also detergent. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm trying it out here because I don't have to grate borax. It's already in powder form. Also, I didn't feel like moving my camera setup, so I just moved my pot out of the sink so it would be under the camera to show you guys dumping this out. And then I rinsed them off camera. So going back into the borax, as far as I can tell, ivory soap and borax are more or less the same. I know some people will also put borax into their stage 3 and 4 grits to kind of help the slurry work better, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting, that it changes the texture of the slurry and helps the rocks get shinier. I might try that in my stage 4. We'll see. I haven't fully decided, but yeah, borax or ivory soap, those are the two things people say to use, and I know some people like one over the other. But anyway, I'm going on about soap right now. Barrel, put the rocks back in the barrel, put some water in it. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons. This is silicone carbide. Currently, my 1, 2, and 3 stages are all silicone carbide. Once I get use up all of this stage 3, I will switch over to, I believe it's aluminum oxide in my stage 3, which is also what I use in my stage 4. And so that using it at stage 3 will help it kind of get a little shinier in stage 4 as well. So now putting that on, this will go for a week, and we'll check on it next week. Well, we will put it into stage 4 for final polish, and I'm very excited. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next week.